Hello, I am here with a dear friend of mine. Her name is also Megan. She is an entrepreneur, and I'll have her introduce herself in a minute. Megan Hansen is here, and she's also known as Short Girl Tall Order. We became friends. We live nearby, and I've been following her work, and we're also moms of kids that are the same age. So it's just a pleasure to have you on and talk more about what you do. So feel free to say hi.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Okay, well, my name's Megan, as you said, and I run a business called Short Girl Tall Order. It's a food blog, kind of off just a food blog, but it's more photography, videography. I create my own recipes, and it's all plant-based. So it's kind of a very brief intro.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. And so today, I want to dive into the topic of doing business and life on your own terms and how you created what you're doing now. So, just to go back to the start of it, um, how did you get into the vegan food space? Were you always vegan? What really sparked your interest to get into that space?
Yeah, so never actually been fully vegan. I've always been vegetarian, but most of the recipes I create are vegan just because I really started my blog when I found out I have an egg intolerance. So I've been vegetarian myself for gosh, I think 12 years now. And way back when, I mean, I think it's been almost gosh, when did I start my blog? Like almost 8 years at this or 6 years, eight, six,
Wow.
7 years. But I started it basically when I found out I had an egg intolerance, and that kind of spurred me wanting to create more recipes, especially desserts that I could eat. I was eating a lot of eggs before and obviously baking a lot, still creating my own recipes, but that kind of opened up a whole new area for me of things I hadn't done before. And that's really what spurred me getting interested specifically in creating more vegan recipes and just kind of making my own things. When I first started Short Girl Tell Order, there was definitely some like baking vegan bacon blogs out there, but not a ton that were making, like, really like, indulgent, decadent desserts. It was kind of more healthy, so everything was, like, vegan and gluten-free and a lot of things like
Yeah.
that. So, that's not necessarily what I was looking for at the time, so that kinda started things.
That's interesting to hear because I've heard bits and pieces just talking to you as friends, but it's kind of cool that you were like, well, this is something I would want, and it doesn't really
Mhm.
exist. So there's an opportunity there just for yourself, but like that's something obviously more people have been enjoying. And I've had your food and desserts, and they're very delicious. It doesn't seem like you know totally health forward, even though it is. So that's kind of
Mhm.
nice. So just like you decided to do this, but before
Mhm.
that, you were in the corporate world, kind of working the 9 to 5. And then what was the point where you decided to like just change your trajectory and say, I'm all in, I'm really doing this? Can you kind of like walk through that process of how you got there?
Yeah, so actually started my blog in 2018, really just for fun. So my friends at the time, I was living in Seattle, they really are the ones I can thank for encouraging me to start it. And they were like, "You're always making such fun stuff for us. You should blog." And I, at the time, was following so many of like the original OG bloggers, like admiring their work. So I was like, "Oh, I could never do that." But I was like, "Okay, I could do it for fun." And so I
Nice.
really started it. And then, honestly, a couple months into it, I already had companies reaching out to me for paid partnerships. And when I say paid partnerships, it was a very small amount at the time, but it still really helped me to get confidence and feel like, oh, wait, maybe I can do this. And um,
Mhm.
I really started working on it from there. But at the same time that I was doing all this, I was working as a technical recruiter at the time when it was really just a hobby. So I was working my corporate job, and then on the weekends and nights, I was creating recipes, blogging. I spent basically all of my weekends doing photo shoots because I couldn't do them during the day at the time because I was working. So it was really everything in my spare time was spent doing this. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then I went full time in 2020, 2 weeks before COVID. So at the time, it felt extra scary because no one really knew what COVID meant. And I had already given my notice, and then everything happened. And that felt scary, but it ended up being okay because so many people were home cooking and making recipes at home that it actually ended up being a good time for
Yeah,
really,
that's
like,
actually
diving into my
really
blog
good
full
to
time.
hear. Yeah, oh, that's I never really thought about that. It just the timing kind of worked out. Um,
Yeah.
and just like thinking about you working and then putting in those all those extra hours, like all your free time, really committed to it. So it was
Mhm.
something you genuinely enjoyed. And what was pushing you to really put in that level of work and go for it? Was it like proving to yourself like I can actually do this, or was it because you loved it so much and made you light up? So like what was it that made you really pursue it for real?
Yeah. I mean, I always loved the recipe creation part of it. That's, like, really what drove me getting interested in it, and it's still the part about all of the blogging that I like the most. Like, if I could just create recipes all day, that's still my favorite thing to do rather than even just the photography and the videography, but really what pushed me to get more into it was the photography aspect. That was something I had taken photography, like, back in high school, like, a very long time ago and always liked it, but I'd never done anything with it past then, and so I took a photography like, a specific food photography course at the time. I don't even think that course exists anymore, and I honestly can't even remember what the exact name of it was now, but I took that probably around 2019, like, a year or so into just doing this as a hobby, and, that really pushed me to kind of, like, take it more seriously. I think I was having a lot of fun just, like, visibly seeing my work get better, and, I
Yeah.
mean, when I look at my old first pictures now, I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I thought that was good," but at the time, I was so proud of it, and then, I mean, once I took that course and really started practicing it, I think just doing the photography part of it really, like, got me invested in a very different way, and made me feel more professional, I guess, in a sense, just because I could
Yeah.
really see it in my work. Like, my work was showing what I was it was making the recipes look as good as I had wanted them to look, which I wasn't able to do really at first myself.
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense because it's like once you honed those skills and you could really present your
Mhm,
recipes in that super professional way. And I mean, I follow you and they look
mhm.
as professional as can be. They look delicious. Every single video clip and
Yeah.
image is on point, so you can
Mhm.
that shows, and I if like, maybe part of it was proving to yourself, like, "I really wanna work on this, I wanna step up my game," and then, as you said, you had started getting some recognition, right? Folks were reaching out for, advertising partnerships and things like that, so do you
Yeah.
remember the point where was it after the photography course where you started seeing, like, um, more followers and growth and opportunities come your way? And I'm sure that got you even more excited, right? To keep it consistent?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a slow lead up. Like, I was seeing consistent growth, but I don't feel like in those first couple years when I was doing it part-time, there was, like, one big, huge thing that happened. It was just, like, consistent, and food blogging was so different even back then than it is now. There was no TikTok, so the way
Yeah.
that people influence with food now is and the video content. I mean, I do a lot of video content now, but that was not a thing I did. I did, like, some stop motion videos, but
Oh, yeah.
that was it when I first started. So it was like photography and the type of partnerships you were getting was all of these businesses reaching out because they wanted you to create recipes and photos for their website. So it was really a lot of like working with companies on that. Um and that, I think that that pushed me to really, I guess, invest more time into it. And I actually really loved my corporate job at the time. I loved recruiting and it was a really fulfilling career, but I think creatively, this just fulfilled me in a way that none of my corporate jobs had before. Like I just had this complete freedom to take things how I want and um I always liked being creative. I always loved photography. The photography aspect of it gave me that really creative freedom that I guess a lot like no other corporate career had really given me to that point. So that really spurred me to be like, okay, maybe I can try and do this. And so in 2020, when I did leave my corporate job and decide to take short girl title order full time, it was definitely risky at the time. Like, I wasn't making the same salary at that time at all because I was only doing this on the weekends and at nights. I was making some income, but nothing compared to what I was at the time, working at a larger company. And it was risky, but I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a year, and if I see a big
Yeah.
improvement, then I'll give it another year, and I'll just kinda take it from there." And luckily, things worked out, and it just kept growing, and yeah, I just kept working at it, and, a lot has changed over the years, like I said. It started so much photography, recipe-oriented, and now video is so, so important and a much bigger part of what I do when I'm creating recipes, so it's changed so much in the time that I've even been doing this, full time.
Mhm. Definitely. I mean, and you've evolved and stepped up in ways that you needed to keep up with the algorithms, right? But
Mhm.
and I know you personally, and I know you're such a planner, right? And so I can picture you saying, "I'll give it a year," but you
Yep.
went for it. Like that's kind of a scary thing to do to be like, "Okay, I'm going to actually leave a job I like and
Mhm.
try this." But you like you said, it kind of like scratched that creative itch you had, and you're like, "Well, I really enjoy this, and I think it could really be something." So you believed in yourself enough to be like, "Okay, let's have a strategy. Let's have maybe like a backup option, but try it." So,
Yeah. I
like,
think, I really looked at it as just like, okay, after a year, I could always go back to the corporate world. Like,
yeah,
at this point, I'm so far removed from it that maybe that's not the case anymore. But a year, I was like, oh, I could always get another job. I'm young, like, I can figure this out. And a year is nothing in the grand scheme of things. And I just wanted to make sure, like, financially, I'd be okay. So once I figured that out, it didn't feel like this crazy risk. And I also wanna say I had a very supportive partner that was, like, helping me through this too,
yeah,
financially and, like, giving up weekends and stuff so I could do this. So, it was kind
yeah.
of a joint decision in that sense, but,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I kinda felt like giving yourself a year or, like, this, like, timeline to see, okay, is it gonna grow, made it feel, like, less risky in my mind, even if it maybe looked risky from the outside.
Yeah, that's a good point because
Mhm,
you kinda, like, mapped out what you needed to do and
mhm,
gave it a year, like you said. So it's I think when you have that sort of mindset, it's a risky thing that doesn't feel as scary.
mhm,
And so, like, that was kind of like the first chapter of launching it, seeing where it went, and
mhm,
then life happens, right? So you got married, you became
mhm,
a mom, and then, priority I've gone through this as well, like your
mhm.
identity changes, priorities naturally shift, your whole world is changed. So
Yeah.
how did you if you want to share your story of your approach to evolving what you did at the time with work, focusing on your daughter, and what that's all meant to you, and just walk us through how that personally was something you wanted to take
Yeah.
control of.
Yeah, so I will say until I had Ella, I have always been like very, very career focused. Like it has always been a huge part of my identity and personality. And
Yeah.
even through pregnancy, I worked up until she was basically out of me. Like
Me too.
I was working through everything and that came with pregnancy and didn't stop at all, other than maybe a little bit during the first trimester just because I was struggling a bit, but after that, it was still, like, fully in, and I really thought I was going to go back to work after, like, 2 months. I was like, "I won't need to be home, like, I'm gonna wanna go back to work, I'm gonna" like, work is such an important part of my life and everything like that. So throughout pregnancy, I was not expecting to take so much time off to be with Ella and be home with her, but, a lot just happens after you have a kid. You never you never really know who you're gonna be after.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah, during pregnancy and throughout the whole experience, I actually experienced, like, a lot of growth specifically that year. I had a lot of recipes go viral. That was kind of right around when TikTok was becoming more mainstream, so I was growing there, growing on Instagram, and, um so that kind of spurred me being like, "Okay, I'm gonna keep working and only gonna take this, like, short maternity leave and come back." Um, and then once I had her, I actually did try going back right around the time she was 5 months. I created, like, 3 recipes and kind of came back, and then I was like, no, I don't wanna be doing this, like, I want her, and I think just, like, creatively, I was just not feeling it at the time, and, um, yeah, that was a really weird feeling, honestly, because I don't think I've ever not wanted to work since I've started
Yeah.
working, like, I've always enjoyed it, it's been such a big part of my identity, and then being like, "No, like, motherhood is more important to me right now," was really a weird feeling, and I mean, I definitely lost myself a little bit in motherhood. I think like a lot of probably first-time moms do, and have just started coming back since November, of 2025, so within the last, like, 4 or 5 months. So that's been I finally do feel ready, but it all took basically 2 years to get there, which is wild.
And everyone does it on their own time and in
Mhm,
their own way. And I can 100% relate to
mhm,
being surprised because, like, the career was such a big part of your identity, and just being like, oh, I'll come back right away and jump right back into the success that I've started to grow. And it just didn't, it felt off for you. And that's actually really great that you identified that and you didn't try to force it, because
mhm,
sometimes you have, like, the societal expectations that you're like, "Well, I need to do this because I should be doing this,"
mhm,
but you were like, "No, I'm not ready," like, like you said, creatively, and the being more present as a mom was your top priority at the time. And it seems like
mhm.
at least you did build that foundation where you still had, movement from, the videos you had created, and it's not like it was completely stagnant, but and that's nice because it allowed you to kind of, like, have more of that flexibility as a mom, right? So, um and you said
Yeah.
you felt like you lost yourself. Can you, like, describe more of what you mean by that, or, like.
Yeah, I think at least for me personally, like Ella's life kind of became my identity for like basically probably like the first year of her life. After that, I started to like do more stuff, like work out again and see friends again
Yeah.
outside of time with her. And but I definitely lost myself just in my whole identity was just like what she was doing when she was napping, what she was eating, what play places we were going to, like,
Mhm.
everything to do with her was just kind of my sole focus. And I wasn't really taking any time for myself or probably my relationships and anything like that, during that first year. So it definitely took time to kind of like mentally get back to a place where I prioritize more than just her. And now I do feel like I have a much healthier relationship. I spend 2 days a week with her right now and 3 days working, and it really helps to kind of have those days still because I realized I don't wanna go back to work full time probably ever while she's young,
Mhm.
but I have much better boundaries around, like, "Okay, this is, like, work time, time to go to my Pilates classes, to work,
Yeah.
to do all this," and then I have these days where I'm just still with her and, like, totally invested in our time together, but it's not 24/7 anymore.
Well, it's nice that you're kind of still in the process of finding that flow and evolving it in whatever
Mhm.
way it's for you at the time. And I'm doing the same thing, honestly,
Yeah.
working on my own person and being a mom and daycare versus when he's not in daycare, and planning, family days versus days where I have to focus on work things. Um,
Mhm.
so
It's
I
hard to
totally.
balance it all.
Yeah, but it's you aim for the balance and you
Mhm,
compartmentalize those different parts of yourself and your life. So
mhm,
that's great that you're now feeling like more in that flow of doing, because it's all about them, especially while they're little, but it's about you too. And so that's really healthy that now you're
mhm,
feeling more like feeling that spark again. And in the last, like, over these last few months, was
mhm.
there something that happened that made you, like, follow your intuition more, or, like, be a little more introspective with what you felt like you
Mm.
needed to do for yourself and for, like, the business aspect of your life?
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it was just so the first year that I was away from short belt tall order, like, nothing really changed, like, my business, because it's ad-based, how I make most of my income, like, it was pretty much the same whether I was working or not, which was amazing. And then
Yes.
that was not the case after not creating content for a year. So then I started to see a little bit of a downfall after I had to decide, okay, do I want to go back to work and continue to try and build this back up, or do I want to just like kind of let it ride out and do its thing? Um, and also a big part of it was I was getting comments, like occasionally messages from people and just like comments on the blog itself on recipes, just about stuff that I realized I was kind of missing that interaction with my community
Oh,
and
yeah.
something that I just kind of hadn't spent time on, and I started to look back at comments and go through hundreds of comments that I had just not even looked at for months and everything like that, and respond to them and view them, and that kind of sparked, I guess, something in me that remembered, "Oh, I did get joy from this too, and I get joy from interacting with my community and seeing them make the recipes and hearing how
Yeah.
they were, like, a great addition to, like, this person's baby shower." Some people have made them for, like, weddings or just, like, Thanksgiving, whatever it may be, but, like, that brings me so much joy to hear, and I was realizing I was missing that. Um, and then, as far as, like, there was no, like, really big moment. I just started to feel ready, and I don't know how
Yeah.
to really describe it other than I was just like, "Oh," well, part of it was I was not as involved in everything with Ella when I was having this part-time help. When she was little, I was still so involved in everything, and then
Mhm.
as she got older, I didn't need to be, and I was just having all this free time where I was like, "Okay, I need
Like,
to
you
do
wanna work on
something."
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to go back to work. And yeah, I was just deciding, do I want to go back to the blog or do I want to figure out what else this time should be used for? And I realized I
Mhm.
really missed my community and creating recipes and like the photography and everything like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because there's just so many elements to this type of business. Like you said, it's
Mm,
creating the recipes, the photography, the actual
mm,
creation, but then you're building a community. You're interacting
mhm.
with real people that got delight in what you shared, and then you can feel that mutual delight when they enjoyed it and they're, sharing it with other people.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool point too, is like you have a community that exists and you can tap back into it and kind of rekindle um, that
Yeah.
aspect. And that's really nice. Um, for someone that maybe is in a transition in life and they're trying to like figure out what success means for them, because like this was something that it just seems like you knew you kind of had like your internal compass throughout this whole thing from start to now
Yeah.
of like this is what I should be doing, this is what I want to do. Like some people aren't as clear as you, I think, on making a decision on this is what I'm doing now and this is right for me. So what would you say to someone who's like, I'm not really sure what the right move is, or like in terms of telling them how to understand what it feels like when it's right for you?
Yeah. I I think like in general, I'm a very decisive person once I've made my mind up about something. It's
Yeah.
hard to steer me away from it, which is like good and bad in many ways. Um, but like I said before, like for me, it was just like, okay, giving myself a timeline really helped. And then also just like reminding myself, like, you can always go back to something safe, but I'm probably going to regret not taking this chance on myself. And
Mhm.
like, what if I do succeed? So, obviously I was comparing myself at the time to like all these bigger bloggers who had beautiful photography and, beautiful recipes and all this experience, but they started somewhere too. But you don't see that part when you're looking at those people. And I guess I just decided to give myself a chance because I think it always helps to remind yourself like you can go back to something safer, but how much will you regret not giving yourself that chance and betting on yourself? So,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's actually really inspiring and empowering because it seems like you're, like you said, you're decisive and you give yourself that opportunity in your life and to
Mhm.
go for something that you feel like is achievable. And so that shows
Yeah.
that you believe in yourself. And I mean, I'm in the same, as you know, I'm in the same phase of life where I've just more recently gotten even more serious about going all in with own person, and it's
Mhm.
scary when you're building your own thing from scratch, and it's always you
Mhm.
think of like, should I do something safe? But I like how you said you can always go back to that, but it's worth giving yourself that shot and that chance to
Mhm.
try it and like give it a real shot. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. It's actually not the end of the world. You can always do something else or shift
Mhm.
or change your mind at any time. So I think that's really comforting to remind yourself something like that.
Yeah, and I think, like, even since I've come back, like, the blogging world has changed so much, like, AI is becoming a bigger thing. There's so many more creators now than even there was before. Like, the
Yeah.
barrier to entry is even lower than it was before because, like, photography is not really as important anymore. Like, people don't really care about seeing, like, super commercialized images, I guess. I don't know if that's the right
Oh
word I'm
yeah.
looking for. But, like, people are looking for more, like, real, like, everyday content, and so I think that that does make the barrier to entry into, like, food blogging, food influencing a little lower or more accessible, for everyone. So that's changed a lot, and then AI obviously is just, like, changed so much in the photography space and
Yeah.
videography
It's
space
pretty
as well,
crazy.
so I don't even feel certain about, like, where my career is going here. Like, I kind of thought long term, like, oh, blogging will be around for a long time, but so much has changed even in the 2 years that I've kind of been away that who knows where it will be. And like, who knows if I'll be doing this forever. But I think you can't always live in the like what ifs because
Mhm.
you just have to enjoy kind of where your business is at the moment. And, you know, there's never any what is the word I'm looking for? There's never any guarantee that this will be forever, but
Yeah.
it's like, you might as well enjoy it, try something new. You can always change up your skills. And I think anytime you're going into a career that is like this and is like social media based or um, something like this, it's going to change a lot. And you kind of just have to go with it or not, but, there's going to be it's never gonna be as steady as maybe a corporate job is, but that's, like, the exciting thing about it too, in a sense, so
Yeah. And even, you know what? Corporate jobs aren't always stable either. So you
yeah,
might
true.
even you enjoy. But it's funny because as you were talking, I'm thinking about, like, our day and age, and especially with AI, like, I can imagine you coming back after, like, almost 2 years and being like, "Whoa, this is a like, week over week, it's just changing so quickly."
Yeah.
Um, but, like, thinking about, like, our parents' generation who, like, they worked at one company for, like, 25 years.
Mhm.
It's like, this is not where we're at in terms of career,
No.
but it keeps us on our toes and, like, you're constantly having to learn new skills. You're constantly having to, like, rethink everything. So, there are definitely, like, pros and cons, but, I
Yeah.
like the framing of, like, nothing is forever, so just, like, embrace where you're at right now and
Yeah.
go. Like, kind of just,
That's a
like
much better way of phrasing what I was trying to say.
well, you basically said that,
Yeah.
so yeah, just embrace it. And, like, we're still first-time moms, our kids just turned 2, embrace the toddler phase, and we're doing that. So, I think, props to us, props to you for kind of just,
Yeah.
like, seeing what feels right in the moment. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
and, like,
so
with the motherhood thing as well, like, I just the reason why I was okay like, my business has, like, slightly suffered in the sense of, like, from an income and, like, follower standpoint by taking so much time off, but it doesn't even matter to me because I'm like, "This time with Ella, I'm never gonna get back." Like,
yeah.
she's never gonna be this little again, she needs me so much, and I think, like, you know until I had her, I was like, "Oh, I don't know how." I was like, "I don't know how moms, like, give up their career or do any of this,"
Yeah.
or but then so much changes, and there's this little person that, you're the whole world to them, and I'm so I'm so grateful that I have a career that I didn't have to just give it up entirely during this period, and it can kind of be there for me when I'm back. Like, I feel very lucky for that. I know that's not the reality for everyone. But I also am so grateful that I took this time with her, and, like, there's literally 0 regrets, even if my business has, like, gone a little bit back, and I'm like, "It will come forward again," but I won't
Yes.
get that time back with her. So that's been always a good reminder too.
Well, that's, like, what this whole episode is about. It's like
Mhm,
you understood what meant the most to you, what your real priorities were, and you made it work in your life, and you stayed
mhm,
focused on that, and that gives you just more fulfillment and less regrets. And so, um, for anyone listening, like, if they had a tough decision, like, career versus, balancing one aspect of their life versus the other,
mhm,
what would you say in terms of understanding the
mhm.
priorities and how to make the decision that felt like it was the right one for them?
I think it's, like, such an individual decision because I have friends that were like, literally, if I had to be home all the time, like, that's something I would never like, I care too much about my career, I couldn't go back. Like, there's a lot of careers where taking off the time that I took off, like, doesn't work. And so, like, in America, at least, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think everyone's situation is so unique and, like, I also have to say, like, I'm so lucky to have such a supportive partner that's, like, has a stable income, isn't home
Yeah.
with Ella all the time, like, someone does have to do that, so I
Mhm.
kind of got to have all this flexibility to start short girl tall order in the first place, to take that risk, and then
Mhm.
to stay home with Ella and deal with a reduced income for a little bit because of my partner, because of my husband Jakob. So without that, I don't think I would have been able to like do all of these things or take as many risks and take so
Yeah.
much time away. So it's hard to say specifically like, oh, just because everyone's situation is so unique. But yeah, just for me personally, I think what I realized is I just wanted to be home with Ella and spend this time with her. And I think a lot of moms probably feel that way too, or dads too, at
Mhm.
parents in general probably feel that way. And if there's any way you can try and make it work, do, you know, reduced hours or whatever it is that you can do to get that time. If that's important to you, then like try and make it work. And if you wanna go back to work sooner, that's okay too, but I feel like everyone's path is gonna be so different with that, and there's no, like, right or wrong way to do it, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's hard to say exactly with that because I feel like everyone's gonna have such a different experience with their kids and, like, their life and their, like, situation on what's gonna work for them, but
Yeah, all very true, and I think it's all about, like, not judging or comparing. It's like,
yeah,
if that if you wanna focus on work right away, that's your thing, that's fine.
yeah,
Don't feel, like, guilty. That can be your choice, and like you said, you were able to be more flexible with your partner, and it kind of just, like,
mhm,
was a situation you were in worked for you. So whatever feels like, um is the right fit for an individual. There's no shame or, you know,
yeah,
it's that's your unique path. Um,
yeah. And I think,
and
like, once you've, like, done something, like, left a stable career to start a business and taking that risk, like, then stepping away and doing something different doesn't feel so scary the second time. Like, stepping away from it
true.
to have this I was like, "Oh, it'll be fine. Like, I'll work it out." And so
Yeah,
I
no
think
worries.
yeah, like, long term too, I think, who knows in my 40s what I'll wanna do. Like, maybe I wanna do something totally different. I think because I've
Mhm,
taken these risks and realized, like, it all worked out. Yes, I worked really hard, but also it
mhm,
worked out, and some things didn't work out along the way too, but that's okay, and, even when I was in corporate, like, I made, big mistakes then and learned so much then from those experiences that it kind of allowed me to be, like, in a position to be okay with these big changes later. So,
mhm.
yeah, I think, everyone's situation is going to be unique, but also it's okay to have a different path than someone else, and, like, there's nothing right or wrong about what you're gonna do, you just gotta figure it out for you.
Yeah, and I like what you said about, like, you made mistakes even in the corporate realm, and that
Mhm.
kind of helped you in your next chapters, and maybe in your 40s, you'll have learned something that will take you to a next completely different direction,
Right.
so everything kind of works out the way it's meant to. I always believe in that stuff, so
Yeah.
I think that's so true. Um, and just to kind of, like, wrap up on your business and all of this that we've talked about, short girl, tall order, and where you're at today. Like, what does that mean to you? What do you feel like this is something that is a mixture of like your hard work and just like where you're meant to like kind of like your future path? Like, how would you describe what it means to you today?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel such an identity with my blog, like, I think there's a lot of people like, it's funny sometimes I go on Reddit and I'll look up short girl tall order because people will talk on there and, like, people refer to me as short girl tall order, not Megan, so, like, like, has become kind of, like, this separate part of my identity,
Like a
um
persona?
yeah, that I, like, never that feels, like, so cool to have that, and I I think I'll never stop creating recipes and content. But like I said, like, the food blogging space has changed so much that 2 years ago, if you had asked me if I was going to ever stop doing this, I would have told you absolutely not. Like, I love it. It's like but that was a very different reality than, like, how the space looks now, and so if it
Mhm.
keeps going the way that if it keeps working for me and I keep having success and, like, having this really good connection with my community, then I would like to keep continuing doing it long term, but I don't know, I don't wanna say, like, it's always gonna look the same. I think it will look totally different for me in 5 years from now in a way that I
Yeah.
didn't it would. Maybe it becomes something more in person or,
Oh, that'd be cool.
um, changes in a different way that, you know, I don't know. I think I feel more uncertain about it than and not in a negative way, just in like a, "Oh, I think it's gonna change a lot," versus 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. I would've been like, "Oh, yeah, it's just gonna keep going and be this
Well,
way,"
that's
but
kind of exciting and, like, the
yeah.
possibilities are endless for what it could evolve into.
Yeah, exactly, and, I some of that is, like, nerve-wracking, of course, but, um, I don't know. I don't feel so tied to it having to be a certain way forever, and I don't really know what I mean by that other than, like, I can feel that there's, like, this shift in the blogging space and in
Mhm.
the food influencing space. I don't can't always pinpoint what it is, but it feels very different since I've come back, and I think a big part of that too is I've made a conscious decision that I'm not gonna share Ella's life on social media,
Right.
and she is such a
Mhm.
big part of my life now that there's this, like, weird disconnect that I'm like, "Oh, I can't share about this because I'm not gonna share Ella." Um and, so there's, like, this weird piece missing sometimes from the way that I was connecting with my community before. I kind of shared
Mhm.
everything, like my wedding, my engagement,
Yeah.
um, our move cross country, so many different things that now I'm consciously not sharing such a big part of my life, so that feels really odd. Um, but I know it's, like, what I wanna do for her. So I don't know. I don't know where it's gonna go, and I feel
Mhm.
like it's still such a big part of my identity. I still enjoy it so much. I love connecting with the community. Like, every time I get a comment on a recipe, literally it's like a positive one, of course. The negative ones don't make me feel good, but, if it's like a positive comment, I'm like it literally makes my day, and I think
Oh.
people don't really realize that maybe don't even realize that there's a real person behind there sometimes, but,
Yeah.
like, those views, every time someone sends me a picture, like, through Instagram or something of recipe they made, that's like all the what's the word I'm looking for? That's like all the reassurance I need that this is still something I wanna do and
Oh,
still
that's
something I'm
awesome.
working. So,
Well,
yeah.
that's so cool, and, like, you don't need to know everything right now. It'll
Yeah.
come to be whatever it's meant to be, but as like you said, like we were saying, if you're just in the moment and kind of taking in what's happening at the
Mhm.
given time, and enjoying that, that's what it's all about. So that's so
Yeah.
cool. And I forgot
Yeah.
to ask you, I'm curious, was there a moment where you decided on the name Short Girl Tall Order and you were like, yes, that's the one?
So, a long time ago, I like, way before Short Girl Tall Order, probably, like, in my first job out of college, I had created, like, this little I thought about going into blogging at that time, just for fun. I was really bored in my job at that time, um, and I, like, made one that was, like, short girl, big city or something. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I never even posted on it. It was, like, a free WordPress thing just because I was, like, living in Boston at the time and was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
I'm short." So, but then,
I'm sure.
yeah. But then when I really so I always kind of had that idea in the back of my mind is what I meant by that. But then when I was really gonna start this, tall order really meant to me like, oh, like literally it could be like a tall order of food, but then also just like tall order on life and things I
Yeah,
want. And yeah, it's just kind of
it's so
had
fitting.
multiple meanings for me. But the short girl was literally just literal that I'm short. So
It's
there's
just
nothing
literal,
creative
yeah.
about that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, well, thank you for explaining that and for everything we talked about. It was really nice to kind of dive deeper because even though we've talked about
Mhm.
this before, we never really got to this level. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. And for
Yeah, it was so
anyone
fun.
listening who wants to follow you, should they
Mhm.
find you on Instagram? Is that the
Yeah,
best?
Instagram or, I'm just getting around to getting back to my newsletter. Was really regular there before, but still getting back to it. So Instagram's probably best, or you can find my recipes anytime on my blog, shortgirltallorder.com. That's where all the like written recipes are and all the steps and instructions and everything like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I follow very regularly, and I should actually follow your newsletter. I might do that after this. Thank you again. It was so good to chat, and
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It was so good talking with you.
Of course. Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.